Welcome in this week's edition of Talkin Ball. My name is Gerry Hamilton. I'm flying solo this week. As CJ Vogel will be back with me next week for next episode of Talkin Ball. Today we're talking large humans as we get you ready for the first fall practice on Wednesday. Of course, the rundown this week on Tuesday around lunchtime. Offensive coordinator Kyle Flood, defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski, special teams coordinator Jeff Banks will meet with the media, kind of let everybody know about the team headed into the season. Then on Wednesday, the first practice, we'll have a open media window at around 2:45 to 3:15. Obviously, after that practice, Steve Sarkisian will address the media. Same thing on Thursday, same practice window for the media. Same time, we'll probably have some player availability Thursday. Then Friday is a practice under the lights, 7 p.m. Media availability. Obviously, Coach Sarkisian, he might address the media after that. Probably not, but we'll see on that. That's kind of a rundown for the week, which starts tomorrow. But right now, I want to get you ready talking large humans, defensive line, kind of what we're hearing at On Texas Football, offensive line, what we're hearing at On Texas Football. Before we get into that, though, I want to take a second for our sponsor. That is John Donovan, president of Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John's a certified financial planner who has spent over 30 years providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends from coast to coast across the nation, anywhere. That's Longhorn Wealth Management Group. John Donovan and the Longhorn team want to offer you a free 90-minute wealth consultation to explore how Longhorn Wealth can help you and your family secure your own financial future. So to schedule your own free private consultation, simply call the Longhorn Wealth team at 972-707-4900 or go online at www.longhornwealth.net. And as John always says, hook 'em. All right, guys, so today I want to talk about large humans, but let's start on the defensive line. And I thought we'd talk about this because we've been checking in with some sources over the weekend at On Texas Football. And with the first practice, 48 hours away right now, I thought it'd be a great time to kind of let's take a look at this defensive front. So here are some of the things that I was told specifically over the weekend. Alfred Collins, Jermaine Lole, considered the two best players amongst the group. Experience, best player combined this season. What does that mean exactly for rotation? We're not talking rotation. This is just kind of a snapshot of this group headed into that first practice on Wednesday. That to me wasn't a surprise because when we sat down with Jim Nagy, the Senior Bowl at SEC Media Days last week, what were we told? Alfred Collins, Jermaine Lole had NFL draftable grades headed into the 24 season. That's the two defensive tackles at Texas that are truly on the NFL draft boards for the 25 NFL draft. Alfred Collins, a known commodity, 86 tackles. He had the interceptions freshman year in the bowl game, a number of pressures, few sacks. He's kind of known. Now, we expect this to be Alfred Collins' best season at Texas. If it's not, things have gone drastically wrong for Alfred. Maybe he was injured, but that's the only way this isn't his best season. This is what we call the contract year, last year in college, his chance to rise up those draft boards and become a third-round level pick, which his talent ultimately could take him. His talent should take him higher, but we'll see if it ultimately can get him into that third round. Jermaine Lole, much more interesting, though, guys. Lole, after his second year at Arizona State, he was considered a second first-round level draft pick. And 70-plus tackles, 6.5 sacks, that'll do it. That dog will hunt. And he was doing that in the Pac-12, okay? Then the injury set in a little bit into that next season at Arizona State. And he legitimately had 3 injury-filled seasons. He had 3 surgeries, I believe it was. Then he came back last year to play in about 9 games for Louisville, and he was a productive player. Once again, not his old self. He's not going to be what he was early on. Too many injuries at this point. But he did enough last year at Louisville to where he now has an NFL draftable grade headed into his senior season. So Jermaine Lole, huge addition to Texas late, the flip from Oklahoma. That gives Texas 2 defensive linemen with draftable grades. But here's the key. Neither one of those guys are true noses. So Could they play together? Yes. We don't know the breakdown of how many snaps Texas will play with a nose or without a nose this year. I think that's kind of to be determined. What influence does Johnny Nansen have? How does the different personnel change the scheme from game to game in this season for the Longhorns? Over the ball, that's Bill Norton. He's the top player on the roster, over the football, true nose, zero tilt type of player. 6'6", 330. Had a productive year at Arizona last year. Obviously, he played on the defensive line at Georgia's first 3 years of practice against just all NFL offensive linemen. Let's be real. They're all future NFLers over there. So he's gone against the best the SEC has to offer in practice for 3 straight years, which helped prep him, I believe, for last year at Arizona. So he's got a very important role on this team. I think the number 2 nose guard type 1 tilt shade type of player as far as anchoring against the run is going to be Aaron Bryant. Sark has heaped a lot of praise on Aaron Bryant, especially late in the spring. I think he really came on late in the spring. He's also 20-plus pounds since he got to Austin entering year 3. This is the year when you should see a guy like Aaron Bryant start to play more snaps in that developmental process and look like a guy his last couple of years at Texas could be a real factor for the Longhorns. So that's a couple of the guys that are going to play over the ball and anchor. Then you get to the disruptors. I call them the disruptive guys, right? Vernon Broughton, Gerry Bledsoe, Tia Savea. Those 3 names, I think they're going to be rotational guys for sure and have key roles on this team. Starting with Vernon Broughton, I was told Saturday his punch is a little more powerful than last year. He's never going to be an anchor against the run guy that you would depend on. That you stick him in there against Michigan and Georgia and say, all right, just go help us stop the run. You want to use him at his strength, and his strength is being an up the field, playing on the opponent's side of the line of scrimmage, disruptive player with long arms, a quick first and second step. And as he's older, he's stronger, a little more power in that punch. Tia Savea came on late in the spring, really good spring game. He's seen as a guy that can really help the Texas team this year and will have a key role. Then the wild card is Gerry Bledsoe. To me, he's the wild card player on the defensive front this year. Now, some people would say Lolay's got to stay healthy, or he's the wild card. Could he be Catalan, or that sort of thing? But I think Gerry Bledsoe is the wild card, and here's why I say that. Gerry Bledsoe is now over 290 pounds. When he signed with Texas, he was as raw of a prospect as Steve Sarkisian had signed. He missed his senior year from a BS UIL ruling, a complete BS UIL ruling. So he missed his senior year of football. He was already young as a football player as far as in terms of playing defensive line. He was at a smaller school, played multiple sports. So missing that senior season, he came out as raw as any prospect Texas has signed since Sark's been in Austin. Now, 30 pounds on his frame, develop more from a technical standpoint and football IQ understanding standpoint. This should be the year he becomes a player for the Texas Longhorns after 2 years of development. The key with Gerry Bledsoe to me is, from everything we're hearing, physicality-wise, he may never be a guy that plays B-gap to B-gap all his snaps, right? And plays in the B-gap or the A-gap all his snaps. That may not be what he is from a physical standpoint, not weight standpoint, but physical in play standpoint. That would lead him to playing more of a 5-tech, more of a 3, more of a 5. The key with Gerry Bledsoe is he is extremely gifted, pound for pound, arguably the best athlete in the program. But Texas is going to want fresh legs for Gerry Bledsoe and find that role that really suits him. I think the thing with this D-line to think about is, do they have Sweat and Murphy? No, we've been over that. But do they have some versatility in their pieces and a puzzle piece that they can kind of put together? I think they do. And now these guys have to stay healthy. They have to perform. But there's some versatility with this group. And it's a very experienced group in terms of games played. I mean, you look at Alfred Collins year 5, Vernon Broughton, Savea, Bill Norton, Lolay, who was a 2018 class kid. I believe he's had the injuries. I mean, Gerry Bledsoe now in year 3 of a college program, Aaron Bryant in year 3 of a college program. This is a very experienced roster of defensive linemen. And I'll add this as well. Alex January we were told something at OTF over the weekend. He has looked very good this summer at Texas. Texas is very pleased with where Alex January is. He's seen as a extremely key piece to the future of this D-line puzzle in Austin, this D-line position in Austin, I should say. He is expected to play this year. It'll probably be limited snaps, but look, he's in the competition. He's worked his way in the position where he can compete for snaps, and he is expected to play this year. That is a really, really good sign for Alex January in his future in Austin. So again, I've mentioned 8 guys right now. I've mentioned Alfred Collins, Jermaine Lole, Gerry Bledsoe, not in order, rotation. This is all going to be played out in August. Gerry Bledsoe, Tia Savea, Vernon Broughton, Bill Norton, Aaron Bryant, then down the list to Alex January, 8 guys, okay? There's 2 interior D linemen remaining in that. Sadir Mitchell, which he, of the guys who is not expected to already redshirt, expected to compete for playing time, he has the farthest to go. I don't think there's any doubt about it right now. He showed some signs in the spring. This summer, it's still about consistency. It's about weight. It's about dedication to being the best football player you can be. And I think right now he is behind the others. So he has got to make the biggest leap, take the biggest steps this season, in August, to get on the field in September and have meaningful snaps this season. Then the last guy, the 10th guy of the interior defensive lineman, that's Melvin Hills. Texas has liked what they've seen from Melvin Hills. Melvin Hills is up to 305 pounds. He was 275 at the start of his senior round there when I was through Lafayette Christian Academy. So he's gained 30 pounds. He has a lot of want to. Football's important to him. He is a guy that's early. He's one of the last guys to leave. So he is doing all the right things to impress the Texas staff early on, for those guys to know that football is important to him and he cares about being a really good football player. And he's also shown that he can put on the weight to play in the SEC. Like I said, already over 300 pounds. He's going to, let's call it a stash and develop redshirt year for him as he really learns technique-wise. But not out of the question, he doesn't fight to be in the rotation next year. If he keeps coming along at the rate he has since he got to Austin, that's up to Melvin Hills. So that's the defensive line. Again, there's 10 names in here. Again, what we were told was Alfred Collins, Jermaine Lole, consider the 2 best players on that defensive line right now. Gerry Bledsoe has that high upside. They're going to see where it takes him. Vernon Broughton, Tia Savea, disruptive guys. The expectation of disruptive guys. Bill Norton over the ball is the top 0 tech. Aaron Bryant is considered the number 2 guy in terms of being an anchor against the run. Now him 25 pounds more on that frame since arriving at Texas. So defensive line, there's 10 guys. Not all 10 are going to play, obviously. A healthy 6-man rotation, I think, is what Texas is building to. And also mixing in that 7th and 8th guy. As Sark said, they're going to play more guys. They're going to play more guys early in the season. And you have Colorado State, you have UTSA, and you have UL Monroe for that rotation to kind of take place, to kind of build, and they get all those guys on the field. So right now, I expect 8 guys to see snaps this season. There's going to be injuries. It's part of the game. I think the guy that's up against this, Sadir Mitchell. I think Melvin Hills will more than likely redshirt, and we'll talk more about him next spring, headed into the spring. But a guy, again, that's worked hard and done all the right things since he's been in Austin. Before I make a couple of comments on the offensive line, I want to take a second once again for John Donovan of the Longhorn Wealth Management Group. As a proud University of Texas alum, John has served 15 years as a Dallas, Texas Exes board member, and he is now helping lead the build-out of the Collin County, Texas Exes chapter. It's John's Longhorn pride that led him to brand his own firm, Longhorn Wealth, and dedicate his firm serving his fellow University of Texas alumni and University of Texas employees. John Donovan and the Longhorn Wealth team want to throw you a free 90-minute wealth consultation to explore how Longhorn Wealth can help you and your family secure your own financial future. So to schedule your own free private consultation, simply call the Longhorn Wealth team at 972-707-4900 or go online, longhornwealth.net. All right, offensive line, not going to be as extensive as defensive line. Defensive line, a lot more questions entering the season. the health of Lole. The other thing I didn't mention on Jermaine Lole, and I should have, so forgive me, is I believe he's going to be on a pitch count of sorts. He's had major injuries, right? He's missed parts of essentially more than 2 years on the field. So I believe there's a plan in place for him with Torrey Beckton, Kenny Baker, Steve Sarkisian, defensive staff this year, to put him on a little bit of a practice pitch count at times to ensure that he's where he needs to be health-wise headed in the season. I think he's seen as that key of a piece for the Texas Longhorns. All right, moving to the offensive line. It was funny. We had John Mills on the Longhorn live stream last night. If you missed that, go back to the Sunday night Longhorn live stream. One of the things that John Mills said that was so interesting is Texas could lose all 5 starters after this year. Not out of the question. That was an interesting comment for John Mills to say, because that means Kyle Flood and the Texas staff is thinking Cam Williams and DJ Campbell could have decisions to make after this season. And I'm here to say this, and I'll keep saying it. If Cam Williams and DJ Campbell both have the ability to go pro after the season, the Longhorns had a pretty good to great year on the field, because that means Cam Williams is a first-year starter, has just exploded up the NFL draft boards into the top 3 rounds. That means DJ Campbell in year 2 took a big step. And a lot of guys take that big step from year 1 to year 2 in college football, or year 1 to year 2 as starters. But if those guys have the ability to go pro after the season, chances are the Longhorns probably played in the college football playoff this year, which is what more could you ask for? So we have the starters defined. It's Kelvin Banks, Taden Connor, it's Jake Majors, DJ Campbell at right guard, Cam Williams at right tackle. Now Neto was in the competition at left guard in the spring. Hayden Connor worked at guard and center in the spring. Cole Hudson in the competition as well. Took snaps at left guard, took snaps at right guard. The belief here by On Texas Football and talking to some sources is that competition is going to be real here in August. We expect Texas to play more of a rotation at guard at times this year, which means Neto and Cole Hudson are going to play legitimate snaps in games this year. That's what we're expecting as of today. Could that change in training camp if guys don't perform? Of course it could. Hayden Connor is ahead in pass protection at left guard. Neto ahead in run as far in the run game. Cole Hudson also better in the run game. Cole Hudson obviously healthy now. That's a big part, a big deal for this Texas offensive line, because he is a quality player when he's healthy. Again, started every game as a true freshman. Hard to do. So Texas has 7 offensive linemen that I think they feel very, very comfortable playing headed into August practice. Your backup at left tackle is Trevor Gooseby. Jaden Chapman's going to be interesting. He's literally taken reps at all 5 positions on the offensive line. He's got tackle feet. He's got tackle length. He's become a more aggressive player. I think he's got a bright future at Texas. The question is, where is he going to settle in? What position he's going to settle in? Some of that could be how good does Brandon Baker look. Brandon Baker was around 285 his senior year in high school. He's listed at 315. Let's just say he's 310. That means he's gained 25 pounds since the end of his senior season. That is filling out your frame in short order if you're Brandon Baker. He really impressed in the spring practices. He's impressed again in the summer. So Brandon Baker, does he potentially win a backup right tackle job in fall camp this year? That's going to be the question that has to be answered. I think Texas has, again, 5 starters. They could potentially lose all 5. I'm not saying they are. There's a whole season to be played. But if people think Cam Williams can't elevate his game to where he could be drafted after year 1, just go look up the name of Marius Mims at Georgia and do some studying up on what he did. And he only started 8 games, I believe, and ended up being a first-round pick. So if the talent's there, the talent's there. If Cam Williams performs in pass, he'll be solid in the run game. If he performs in pass pro against the schedule Texas is playing, he's gonna fly up the draft boards. Same with DJ Campbell in pass pro, because he's really strong in the run game. He may not be as tall as some others, but he's broad, and he is powerful, and he is quick, and he is aggressive. If he takes a big step in pass pro, he'll also start to be talked about on those NFL draft boards. So again, backup guards right now, Neto, Cole Hudson. Texas is very high on those guys. And it's not that I'm leaving out the Connor Strohs of the world. Texas likes those guys. It's just they have to have another year of patience. Trevor Gooseby at backup left tackle. He just has to be patient. He's playing behind an All-American. He has to keep developing. He's up to 6'8", about 315 pounds. Again, he was 6'6 and a half, 270-ish, and the Under Armour camp spring of his junior year. That's how far he's come physically. Jaden Chapman's put on about 20 pounds since senior year in high school. Obviously, we talked about Brandon Baker. So Texas has developed the depth they want. They've developed those frontline starters they want. The left guard, that's probably where a battle could be, but I think it's hard to beat out a guy that started multiple years there at left guard in Hayden Conner. But Hayden Conner's better in the pass pro. Neto's better in the run game. Cole Hudson also better in the run game. We expect Cole Hudson to play some at right guard, compete at left guard as well, heading in the fall practice. All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Talkin Ball. I just wanted to talk large humans today, really defensive line, more so than offensive line, but give an update on all those large humans in the Texas program. We'll be back next week. It'll be myself, CJ Vogel, returning next week. That's been this week's edition of Talkin Ball. Have a great day.